Jennifer Glassmount writes, so I was reading an interview with Joss Whedon yesterday. I do that way too many times. Joss Whedon yesterday, where he was saying there isn't really a Marvel Cinematic Universe outside of the movies. Basically, he said Agent Coulson is dead and the TV shows aren't really connected. What gives? What is the MCU?
You know what? I read these interviews he's been doing this weekend, and even I was like, Joss, what are you doing, man? What are you talking? Okay, so for those of you who don't know, Joss has been doing a couple of interviews, and he didn't specifically say that the television stuff is not connected to the movies. He didn't come out and say that. What he kind of said was, he goes, honestly, he sounded like he was starting to air a little bit of dirty laundry. And he was saying, look, that's all that stuff, that's a product of the television department. That's not us. And he was pretty clear in saying, look, we killed Coulson. They want to bring him back, and that's fine. But as far as the movies go, Coulson's dead. And it's like, okay, this sounds. And he says, I highly encourage you to look up the interviews he's done. He did two specifically that really stand out, but look those up and read his comments. And it feels like, man, we know he was been tired doing the Avengers films in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. He's basically been quarterbacking the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe. I mean, obviously under Kevin Feige, but they're flying him into remote locations to write same day rewrites on 8 pages for Thor or here and all that kind of stuff. So he's worn out, but it sounds like he's a little bit bitter on it as well. A couple things that stand out to me in this thing is number one, Joss Whedon was, when Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. started out, everybody tried to trumpet the name Joss Whedon as much as they possibly could. This kind of really tells me he had very little to do with that show other than getting behind it and giving some notes and then sending it's on its way. The other thing that stands out to me, I think, at least if you listen to Whedon, what he's saying, and there could be a lot more to the story than this. Okay. So I'm just basing this on what Whedon's saying. It sounds like, all the television shows are going to be influenced by what happens in the movies, and the movies will be absolutely influenced zero by what goes on in the television shows. Which, I like the DC approach. I keep a separate television universe and a separate movie universe. Everybody has much more creative freedom. You can explore a lot more different things. And so far, no one's getting confused with the DC stuff. So why would they Marvel? But they've gone a different way. You know what? The best word to describe all this is confusing. For a lot of different levels. I don't know why Joss is coming out and saying stuff like this now at this point. It sounds like maybe the relationship between him and Disney is not ending so well. Pure speculation on my part. Let's be very clear, pure speculation. But I don't know, Christian, you read these comments, you read these things he's coming out and talking about now. How does it strike you? What's your first impression of it? I
really disliked the comments a lot. And I'll tell you, because you said he didn't have much involvement. Didn't he direct the first episode?
Yeah, he wrote and directed the first episode. He wrote first.
And the first episode is when Coulson comes back, and he wrote that. So
and apparently he wasn't happy about it.
No, I can't do it, and I'm mad at myself for writing that Coulson just came back.
What? It's like I don't understand. It's for him to say that, and him to be the one. Yeah, he's done amazing things for this franchise. The Avengers 1, Avengers 2. He really has, and I know he's like he is a geek god. But he's not the one that should be saying this. Kevin Feige should be saying this, if that in case it's the truth that it doesn't fit together. Because I haven't seen a lot of S.H.I.E.L.D., but what I have seen from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is that they reference a lot of things that's happened in the movies with stuff that happened in Winter Soldier.
Yeah, going that way, but it doesn't come back.
But there's things that happened, particular things that happened in Winter Soldier that happen in the same time period, the same time, like it's happening.
Right. Once again, though, it's the show that gets influenced by happening in the movies. The movies aren't steered by what happens in the shows.
I guess, but it still has those characters. It's like an alternate universe where this guy. That's like you said. It's way too confusing, and it's not. Yeah. And I think that you either stick with it or you don't. Like you go the DC route, or say no, everything is canon from here. This is from whatever happens. Because I thought. Oh, I don't want to say that almost was a spoiler, but I'll just I'll save it for our spoiler review on Avengers.
Yeah, one other thing that added the confusion is why say this? He also made the comment in one of these interviews that he made more money doing the Dr. Horrible web thing than he did doing Avengers. It's like, why say that?
He says things like that all the
time. And everybody knows how much I love Joss Whedon.
Mm-hmm.
I love that dude, but I'm like, why are you saying that? What good comes out of you saying? I don't know.
Well, he
Dennis,
must be
your
talking about the
impressions.
first Avengers, because I'm sure on the second one he got a lot more money. I think it was one of those things how they got the actors. You know, Chris Hemsworth, Chris Evans, when they first got him in, they paid them very little amounts for the first movies that they did. I don't know. I think maybe he is going to take a break from Marvel. He also mentioned he was curious about doing a DC movie or directing a DC movie. I think they really wanted him back for Avengers 3, and he just said, no, I don't want to do it. And now he's kind of at that point where I'm just going to say whatever because I can go do other stuff.
I might go the other way on that. I might think that he wanted to do Avengers 3, and they probably.
So.
I was shocked that he was even coming back for 2. Like when you sit down and talk to Joss Whedon, that dude, not only do you tell right away how completely emotionally, physically, wrecked he is right now for the way he's done these movies, but then you listen to him even talk about it, and you can tell in his answers while he's really, up until these recent interviews, he's still waving the Avengers flag and trying to sell the movie. But I've always gotten the impression from him that he cannot wait to get away from them.
Broke
I really
his leg
do.
On the last one too, didn't he?
Yeah, like he was like on crutches directing a lot of it.
Been through a battle.
The Coulson thing, it kind of confused me as well. I think the way I took the interview was that in his own mind, none of that stuff happens and Coulson's still dead and all that stuff. Yeah, he did write and produce the first one. And not only that, the showrunners of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. are his brother and his sister-in-law.
Yep.
So it's not like he's that far removed from that series.
Which adds to the confusion of the comments.
Yeah, and then also the whole thing, because he talks about Coulson and bringing him back and how it doesn't bring weight to the first Avengers anymore because he does come back. But lest we forget that he did the same thing with Buffy and Angel with the character Spike. At the end, he dies, then he comes back in Angel.
But in Joss's defense, he did just flat out kill a lot of characters.
Yes.
In Angel and in Buffy.
Do you guys think that it's because I know that a lot of people who watch S.H.I.E.L.D. has said that it's gotten better over the last season or two. But do you think because it wasn't as beloved and there were a lot of complaints? I mean, we've certainly complained about it on this show a few times too, that maybe that's another reason why it didn't fit into the same type of love, that maybe they're like, oh, maybe we step back a little bit from this and say, well, that's not exactly influencing this. And
I don't know, what year does Inhumans come out?
Like 2018 or
18 or 19.
I'm wondering like how much of, because there's a lot of Inhuman stuff going on in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I'm wondering if any of that is going to that's really going to be the telling sign. When that movie comes out and they have nothing to do with what's going on with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. right now, that might mean, okay, forget about that.
Well,
I was about to say something that's a major spoiler in Avengers.
But I want to hear Marvel's thoughts on this though, because Marvel has to say something. Because for me now, I say, well, wait a minute. There's been rumors that Daredevil is going to eventually join the Avengers. But if they're saying that this is the TV separate from movies now, does that mean that we'll get a different Daredevil, or will this Daredevil show up, or do these events? Because in Daredevil, they mention a bunch of things that are happening that have happened in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So it's really confusing. Someone from Marvel should make a statement to clarify.
I think Marvel is smart enough that they're not going to say a thing.
Really?
I think they know if they say anything at this point, it's going to prolong the I hate using the word controversy, and I don't even think the word controversy applies here, but it will just prolong the controversy at this point. So, and remember, the other interesting thing, this reminds me of, you were at that Disney presentation at the El Capitan Theater, right? And somebody asked something about the television aspect. And Kevin Feige, now remember, Kevin Feige is listed as executive producer in a lot of shows. Kevin Feige at that thing straight up said, I don't have anything to do with the television stuff. That's a totally separate department, has nothing to do with me. You are the head of the MCU.
Right.
And he's like, I have nothing to do with it.
But he didn't say though that they weren't canonized.
No. Didn't suggest that at all. I think what it looks like to me more and more is that all the shows can clearly reference all the movie stuff, show that they are influenced by the movie stuff, and what happens in the movies has to become canon to the universes. But what I'm wondering is if they've set that up as a one-way street where the movies do not have to like follow anything that happens in the TV shows. So it's just funny, they make an Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and then the next movie that comes out, they destroy S.H.I.E.L.D. So S.H.I.E.L.D. is completely influenced by it. And oh my God, I want to say a spoiler for Avengers that goes directly to this point, but I can't. And you know exactly what I'm talking about. But it's confusing. Let's see how it shakes out. I'm sure Kevin Feige's got a plan for what happens after the departure of Joss Whedon. Joss Whedon's going to be just fine. Marvel Cinematic Universe is going to be just fine. Just some curious stuff. I hope that answered the question.